Hello, everybody. James here from Rally Corp. Welcome. We're going to get started in just a minute. I have a few people connecting. It looks like we have, 7 right now, 8, 9. Oh, more people connecting. So we'll just give it a minute for everybody to come in and we will get started. Here's what I was saying when it comes to these workshops. They're very intimate. I wanna help you guys out. This is supposed to be interactive, but for some reason my chat tool is not working. If you want to try to chat me again, it should enable here shortly. But if it's not running, that's fine. We'll make the best of it. Okay, so here's what I was saying about texting. There is a concept of a V card or a contact card. If you're not familiar with that, you can see what mine looks like by texting the word James to 24365. So text James to 24365. That's going to return a link. When you click on that link, you will have access to a V card. You'll add that card to your phone as a contact card. Now, the benefit of doing that, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I'm going to help you set one up if you're interested in this. And just because you're putting up with the technical issues today, I feel like I'll just do it as a favor. But the benefit of that is when you call someone, if you add my contact card, if I call you, my name shows up in the caller ID. And then if I text you, of course, my name shows up in the caller ID. So if you like me, you'll answer the phone. If you don't, you'll go to voicemail. But also, you'll have my email. And since I email from my personal email account, my emails are likely not to go to spam now because I'm in your contacts, which is one of the criteria that Google and these various services use to determine if you know this person or not, right? So as a fundraiser or as a marketing or communications role, it's very important your donors know who you are so that they pick up the phone when you call and you can respond to text, and of course your emails are less likely go into spam. So here is my offer to you for all the nonsense today. Since you stuck around, I only lost one person, it looks like. Thank you, everybody, for the technical issues. If you text James to 24365, you'll have my contact card. You can now text me questions. Since our chat's not working, I'll pick it up over text. I'll answer your questions over text, but you can also text me or email me and say, James, I want a V card, and I'll do one for you, no problem. There's some free services out there. I'll set you up on one of those, or I'll give you a little video on how to do it so you can set it up. And then just know that if you're on the Rally platform as a customer, we're actually adding that as a feature within our platform. So when you set up your account, you answer a few questions, we actually generate one for you. We'll save you a step in that way. Okay. All right. So text James to 24365. You'll get my cell phone. And then you feel free to text me. If you want to email me, that's fine too. I'll have my email up over here. I'll just try not to get distracted with it. If you have any questions, I'd love to know what your biggest challenge is in fundraising. I think I just saw a text come in. So I know, I'll tell you what, in the last time I gave this webinar, what the question was. Yep. Okay. very similar. So one of the common challenges is creating stickiness. I'm going to use the word stickiness, where you get people back again after the event is over. So that can be a real challenge after the event is over. Like, how do you get people, well, one, to show up, participate while they're there, and then how do you keep them connected? Because it seems like we're always having to remarket and market and market our event from year over year. So there's a couple of things just for to be aware of, and I won't spend a lot of time on this. I want to get into the teaching piece. And as I mentioned earlier, this is mainly teaching and instruction. So we can come up if you have questions. I'll respond to text messages or an email here, james@rallycorp.com. But here is the main point of our workshop today. It's around events. And I'm going to show you a framework here in a minute. That's just a few minutes we'll spend on that. And then I'll open it up for questions around that. Okay. All right. So changes in consumer privacy. And just so you're aware, iOS 15, really even before iOS 15, which is the operating system that powers Apple, we started seeing really some changes in consumer rights. It started with some of them moving over in England or within in Europe around GDRP, if you're familiar with that. Definitely coming to the U.S. You can watch California, kind of how California is treating privacy and organizations operate out of California very specifically, because they tend to kind of be a test bed for a lot of these ideas, and then they move into really from coast to coast. So it's just a matter of time. And so what we're seeing with the tech companies, especially those that are based out of California, is this just overall changing attitude towards consumer privacy. Now, what does that mean to us as organizations? Well, it means that we used to have an idea of who was actually opening our emails. Now we don't necessarily know that, because if they're getting their emails on their iPhone, and most people do, the iPhone is automatically opening up their message, and you're really not getting that data anymore. Likewise, they can obfuscate or hide actually I can email your organization now or sign up for a newsletter and not actually use my email. I use a burner email, kind of like a burner phone, where I can just go into my settings and I can say, I want a new email, and it generates a new email, and I can decide, hey, I want to move all my communications or not. So there's just different things that consumers are doing, which makes a lot of sense why they would want that, but the privacy and some of the tracking. So what that means is that a lot of what we've been doing around marketing on Facebook or marketing and social networking is becoming more and more challenging, because we need what's called first party data. We need people to opt in to communicate with us. We can't just simply go say, hey, these people are interested in pets, so let's show them an ad around pets because we have a pet sanctuary, or we work with a dog adoptions or something like that. There was a time when you could just go get access to this data and market to people, and then a lot of those mechanisms are now closing down and becoming more and more difficult. Now, that's the changing attitude towards consumer privacy, but big tech is also changing in the sense that it's now, for better for worse, a pay to play, which means you build your audience on social network like Facebook or Instagram, and then you have to pay to get back in front of them, which is a real, challenge for some of us that are running on limited budgets. Is now we're having to spend a bunch of money to bring these people back. So what I'm going to show you today, what I want to talk about today, is called the GIVE framework, and it's primarily around the idea of how do I run an event that moves people from my just general awareness of who I am as an organization. What can I do to bring people into the organization or into my story and bring them in to actually participate or give to my cause, whether it be their time, their treasures, or their talent. There's obviously, we want money, of course, but we also need volunteers. But really, we want people to share the love and tell their friends and become ambassadors, don't we? We want people to really move others' hearts and minds to join with ours on the mission that we're about. So here's the big idea with Rally, and why we're called Rally. We believe if you can rally support, you can build a movement, right? You can really get people to move in a direction with you. So think about the idea of a rally, being rallying people together. We actually were Rally Corp, and there's a blog post up now if you want on our website, if you want to go read about our name and the origin of it. But we were Rally Corp before we did text messaging. And in fact, we didn't even know we were going to do text messaging. In fact, I was a little resistant to text messaging, if I'm honest. Like, I didn't want to do text messaging. But I brought the team together after exiting another company, after selling off another company, brought some of the team together. We were huddled around like, okay, we know we want to solve the problem of getting people to an event. How do I get people to stay connected to my cause? I can get people to my website. How do I get them to fill out a form or make a donation? And if they make a donation or fill out a form, how do I get them to come back again? How do I reactivate, rally these people? back so that they come back again and create a movement. How do I do that? So we looked at various technologies, and it was funny because I remember early on we had this idea. Well, we want to mobilize people because if you go look at the Webster's dictionary on the word rally, there's this concept of mobilizing. And I'm like, well, we want to mobile people. We want to mobilize people. We want to activate people. We want to bring people in and create this piece. So, like, how do we do that? Well, dummy, what about a mobile phone? So I remember the team kept saying, well, texting is the most reliable channel to activate people. If you want to get people's attention, it's texting. I'm like, yeah, but texting's been done. It's it's like icky, like really, it's intimate, like my family, now this, and and they said, well, what if we did it in such a way? What if we taught people to do it that wasn't spammy? It was personal. It was personalized. There was a human on the other end, and we used various technologies like artificial intelligence or AI so that we could just ensure that if someone's really upset or they're opting out or they're you know replying with an emoji of a middle finger, like we're aware of that and we can inform and educate and change and transform our messaging. And be what if we took messaging and went to the nonprofits and the charities and the causes of the world and said, hey, we're going to help you do it the right way. And what if out of that then we could then rally people, because there's no better communication channel than mobile, hands down. And trust me, we looked at email, we looked at browser push notifications, we looked at all kinds of things, and we landed on mobile. So that's this a little bit of the story with Rally. Thank you for listening to that. Let me get into the framework. It's GIVE, so it's very easy to remember. But just like we knew as an organization, we wanted to get people to activate or to rally around a cause. We knew we needed to look at the clear and concise goal to get that done. So when it comes to planning an event or a fundraising goal, please, look at text messaging. Yes, look at video, look at all these different tools. But as you look at them, be clear on your goal. And here's some example goals that I work through with my customers. And if you want to text me your questions, I'll work through them here. But one goal with one of my organizations is they just want to reduce the cost or the energy it takes to get a new donor. That first donor sign up is very important to them because once they get that first donor, they know they have a pretty good process to get them to give again or to be connected, or just given the nature of their cause, it's really just about one-off donors anyway. So to them, it's just how do we get a donor? If it used to cost us $25 to get a donor and they gave $50, that's not bad. But what if we could get a donor for $1 and they still gave $50? Like that's pretty incredible. So that would be the goal. So they run an event, online, virtual, in person, whatever. Their mindset is how do we reduce the barrier, the friction, the cost to acquire that first donor? Because once we have them, we're good. Another organization is like, no, we don't, yeah, well, of course we need new donors, James, but really what we want is we want people to give again. Like if we could if we could get 100 new donors this month and they gave again next year and they gave again in 3 years, and in fact, they gave more in the third year, that's a success. We want longer term donors, longer lifetime value of donors. We want to look at the long view. We're building long-term relationships here. And as a donor, development role, like if I have a nice base of 100 people from last year and I did add another 40, 50 to that this year, like that's pretty cool. Like I don't have to go out and reinvent my job all over again every year, which is really, really painful. So as an organization, when you think about events, be it virtual, in person, whatever, or the use of technology, let's be clear and concise on our goal. We have to start with a goal. It would be malpractice for me to sit here and start with anything other than a goal, because you got to be clear on the goal, because the goal will inform the strategy, kind of what we're going to do. It also informs the tactics or the technology of how we're going to do it and the tools that we're going to use. Okay. Now, the I stands for invite. We don't have an event if no one shows up, right? I'm sure you've had experience before where you're like, man, we really need to fill the room, right? So we want people to show up, but we want them to show up in the right mindset. We want them to show up and be part of our story. We want to draw them in. Now, to do this, it's really story is the way to do it. Like it's just hands down. There's no better way than story. And we'll talk about video here in a minute as an application. And what Rally just launched a new tool actually around video. It's up on our website today, actually hot off the press. In fact, if you want to go to rally.so, the website, rally.so, rally so, we're going to help you rally so the water, there's fresh water, rally so kids have shoes on their feet, rally so the homeless are fed in San Diego. Like you go watch the stories of some of the people that are posting their videos. As part of creating a video on the Rally platform, you have the option now to publish it on a website, and we're going to drive people to it and raise awareness and feature different causes because we want people to hear your story. And I'll get into that in a minute. But really, when you invite someone to your story, you're inviting them to participate. And every story has a hero and a guide, right? So you decide, and it's different for everybody. And I'll help you. We'll have a workshop in June on this topic, but you get to help decide as an organization whether your donors are heroes or whether they're just helpers as guides helping the people that you serve. And it's different, based on some different elements of your story. But here's the key: use story, invite people in. You want people to show up on the day of the event. You want to invite them, but you invite them through story, and they see themselves entering into your story. In what feels like another lifetime, and years and years ago, I was a pastor at a church, and one of the things I used to tell our staff and our team all the time was that people want to believe in the vision, they want to believe in the mission, they want to belong to it, they want to be part of it, and they want to, of course, benefit from it. Like they need to feel like they're being changed, right? They're part of the transformational process here. Like they're either as a legacy giving to the next generation, and they're getting that award of that feeling of belonging, or they just actually just want to they had their marriage is in trouble and they need help and they want to benefit from it. But ultimately, what we're looking for in the fourth B, and again, this is more of the church speak, but the bless. Like we want to be able to then take that benefit and turn it around and pay it forward because that's how life works. That's what makes us human. The more you do that, the more human you feel. I'm sure you've experienced that. Your guys' job as nonprofit leaders, whatever role, whether it be communications, marketing, donor development, our job is to create a time and a place for people to do that. They give through us and to be part of that. So believe, belong, benefit with the lowercase b, and then, of course, bless, right? We want to definitely make sure that we are helping others. So we want to invite people into that story. Now, I remember in my church communications days, or even in my nonprofit that I was part of founding early on and sat on the board, it was all about how do we create like this movement or this momentum or this forward motion with people? Because if we could just get like, I remember when we were starting our church, like we'd get 20 people to show up, and I'm like, what, 20 is pretty cool. And between us, I'll just tell you the math. Like the average family in America gives about $1,200 a year. The giving unit is what they're called, $1,200 a year, and about 20% of the people give. So I would do the math in a spreadsheet and say, look, I can have a salary as a church planner. If I got this many people to show up and give this much of money, I wouldn't have to work 12 jobs. That'd be awesome. I used to valet cars. I worked as a 911 dispatcher. Like I had all kinds of crazy lives trying to just fund these churches. And then ultimately landed on technology. Like, hey, I create technology to help me do this. And that ultimately became my story. But so like the idea here is like, how do I get people to show up and then move and be kind of in this forward momentum and continue to move forward? And one of the ways that I found to do that is using multiple ways to communicate, because different strokes for different folks, right? Like some people want email, some people want text, some people want mail, and not just different people, but different campaigns. So like what is the right for this campaign for the goal and the results? What am I trying to do? And how do I set up my channels and my communications in such a way that makes that easy? So again, what this means basically, velocity is we're trying to create throughput. We want to take 100 people. And I remember back to my story, 20 people showed up after months and months and months of going around and coffee barista and the guy that picked up my laundry, or this person or that person, a guy I knew at work. Like just getting 20 people to show up was a huge deal. And then it was like, okay, how do I get these 20 people to go get 5 of their friends and turn that into 100 people? And then ultimately a 10,000 square foot warehouse, over $1 million in budget, like became a thing because we just were like, okay, we're creating these little micro movements and moving these people in to be part of the story. Like, how do we do that well? And what I found early on in my developmental career was that if I could somehow reduce the barrier to get more people to show up, bigger events, better experiences, greeters at the front door, personal invites to lunch or dinner, coffee with the pastor, like different events, different touch points. Like the more I understood that process and removed friction from that, making sure people knew about it, communicated it, we executed with excellence, we continued to try different things. Like the better I got at that, the more throughput I could create, the more people would show up, and eventually I would have pretty good velocity or pretty good throughput. So again, it's a little bit of a technical word, but I guess it's just my church days, but I have to make it spell a word. So give velocity is a very important concept when it comes to creating an event. So what does that look like for an event? I'll say one more thing about it, especially as it pertains to experience. When I create an experience, I want people to have empathy. I want them to be enlightened to the challenge that I'm dealing with. I want them to understand the magnitude of the problem. I want them to see themselves in the story, and I want to create an environment where people just join that, and they have just a really good experience. So, but as I'm choosing the different technologies, or as I'm choosing different tactics, or I'm thinking about the strategy, what I'm super crystal clear about is that I want to make sure that I'm not like, hey, we're gonna have a big event, but we're gonna have it in a small coffee shop because I'm gonna have a choke point, aren't I? I'm not gonna have a lot of room for a lot of people, and it's gonna be, the sound system's not gonna be quite right. So the experience is gonna be a little off, which is back to my goal, right? We gotta be clear on the goal. We gotta invite people in the story, participate in that. We want to reduce the barrier, and we want to create these experiences. I know early on in our events for another nonprofit I was part of, we were going to rent this big hall and do this big blowout event, this big bash, and I thought let's keep the budget small, let's be more intimate. Instead of having one big event, let's have a bunch of small events. Let's have them in my house so they're more intimate. Let's invite. I want to have coffee. I want to walk around the room and talk to everybody that's there. I want to hear their story. I want to look for natural ways to invite them into the story, our collective we story, not my story, but the we story. And I want to do that smaller. And then as these little feeder groups kind of started to grow, then we needed bigger space. And then we kind of packed that out. My fear was moving into a warehouse. We would have like 100 people there and it would be odd and awkward. We had to keep the lights off so nobody would know. And I've been there. I've done that. I tried that. It doesn't work for long. It's not sustainable. But what I found is like more intimate gatherings, more frequent gatherings, more relational gatherings allowed me to build that out and kind of grow that up and create that experience. But that's a good example of all of them working together, right? I've got a goal of building a community. I want to create a movement around that. I want to invite people into that. I need to look for natural touch points to do that. I need to remove the barriers as I do that. I don't want them to show up on Sunday and then say, hey, email me in the week, because I knew as soon as I did that, they wouldn't open their emails. Like 20, 30, 40% of my emails would get opened and about 5 to 8% would get responded to. So even if it was a personal email, people don't respond. So I was like, okay, I got to find ways to just make sure that they're opening the message, they're watching the video, they're clicking on the link, they're doing whatever. And that's velocity. Now, I know I'm going really fast here because I lost a minute or two with the silly mute button. But so I apologize if I'm going too quick. I'll take a quick aside here. I got a couple of text messages that have come in, but I just wanted to share with you the GIVE framework. And I won't ask any more poll questions because obviously the chat's not working. Shame on me. But so any questions around the GIVE framework, and then we can give some specific examples of what this looks like. What's funny is I'm looking at some of your titles on here. We got about, 12, 13 people here today. I see communications, a communications specialist, communications director, communications and marketing. One's blank. We got development associate, development director. So it's funny because this is what I love about working with charities and causes, is that we get communications and marketing folks and we get development. And in the corporate world, that would be sales and marketing, right? If you think about it. I know we don't like the word sales, and we're not selling anything except for maybe experience and somebody's ability to come in and be part of what we're doing. But a lot of times, like, these are two different pieces. Now, my personal passion, what I enjoy doing, is taking these teams that sometimes operate independent of one another and helping them think about how are we going to use some of the same technology or tools or tactics and work beside each other. Because if I could get development and communications lined up, man, great things can happen. So I'm going to expect that some of the questions might be around more communications. It might be more development. Let me just jump in here. Oh, okay. Got a question here. Yeah, this always comes up. It's awesome. So I talked about moving people from social media into the texting. Like, how do I do that? One of the ways, from a marketing perspective, from a communications piece, is I use a tool like Canva. I do a lot of videos, and in the video or on the Canva image, I'll put over an image overlay, and I'll invite someone to take action. So I might post a screenshot of a video on Instagram, because I also have the video going, of course, but I might post a screenshot and I'll say, watch it now, text this. And then, of course, I can post a video as well. But in the video, I'll say, hey, get involved, text this, right? So text this word to this number. Be it, the 24/365 rally short code, which is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, or I might just have a regular phone number. But like, here's this compelling story. Here's how to get involved. And then on social media and all my different channels, everywhere, my email, everywhere I'm communicating, I'm asking people to take some action, always an action. And that action could very easily just be text me at this number to learn more, text this to this number to watch this video, download the playlist for this coming walkathon. We have a playlist that, on Spotify and Apple, so you can be on the same, beat of the same beat, right? We're all going to be on the same beat. If you want to add the playlist to your phone, text this word to 24365 to get access to the playlist. That's very natural for me. It's like, oh, my iPhone is going to be in my pocket, my earbuds. I'm going to want to listen to music. What can I do to take that out? Because this is an event where we're going to be listening to music. I don't know. So that's an example. Or I run a leadership retreat. I wanted everybody to listen to a podcast before the retreat. I wanted everybody to because we were going to be launching off this podcast episode to talk about a specific topic. So I emailed everybody, but then like the day before the event, I texted everybody, hey, excited about tomorrow. Here's a link to the Google map of where we're going to meet. It was up, around Hoover Dam up in Nevada. And here is the podcast to listen to in preparation for that event. So very easy way to get people to say, okay, here's the episode I want you to listen to. And if you get lost or you have challenges or trouble, respond to this text message. Looking forward to seeing you. And because inevitably someone on that trip is going to like, where do we park again? I didn't read the emails, or I read the emails a month ago, or I didn't see your email. So I want to be like real-time messaging. I don't want to be driving down the road with my laptop up trying to respond to emails or trying to do it on my phone. Like, that's not good. Texting, I don't do that driving either, just for the record. But it's a little easier to text and communicate in quick little short message bites than trying to respond to this long email thread. And then and there's my all my emails from my realtor, everything else is like all in there at the same time, which is a mess. Okay. So, all right. So you get the idea. So the question specifically was, how do we move people from Facebook? Like, what did I mean by that? So what we're doing is we're posting images and we're posting videos in these different mediums, these different channels, and we're inviting people to take action. And as they take action, they're opting in, or they're giving us their phone number. We deliver just what we promised to deliver. And then we can message them later and say, hey, we would love to communicate with you through text messaging. Please add us to your phone and stay connected. Here's an upcoming event you can participate in. Here's an upcoming thing, or here's a video from our founder. Here's whatever, right? So that's very, very important. Now, something I do want to share with you, because I think there was one other message, but I might have already answered it. It was around messaging kind of templates. So let me just show you real quick a template that I'm going to actually make available to our customers. When you log in, you'll start to see this. Give me 1 second to bring it up here, and then I am going to just walk through the template. But if there's any other questions, please please post, or not post. You can't post. To text me, or feel free to email me. I'll bring up my emails here in just 1 second, just make sure I'm not missing anything. But want to just make sure that this is helpful for you and a little bit more intimate. If you're just getting started with text messaging, I saw one of you on the call today is fairly new. Melissa, I recognize your name from, I think you signed up just yesterday. So I just want to talk real quick to you, because I think other people might also be curious. Let me bring this up, and I'm going to reshare my screen. Nothing like a more intimate workshop. You guys thought you were coming to a polished presentation. It shows you what you know. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So, this is my screen share. I want to show you this, because I always get this question like, okay, where do we start? So we have, and this is brand spanking new. I'm going to get out of the way here. Okay. So we just added 125, and this is the database behind the scenes. And I'll show you in the platform here if you want to see it. But, we're adding 125 message templates broken down by different categories. Because in a previous workshop, you can go back and watch the video on that if you want, or I can send you a link to it. Or in fact, you know what? If you're interested, I'll just send you a 2-minute video. I'll condense it down for you. Just real concise, but like how to write a message. The 4 different types of messages: solicitation, informational, conversational, and of course, transactional. So what we have done is we've identified messages from our customers, and we brought them into a database, and we've tagged them as, hey, here's a conversational example. And there's a lot of them. There's 125 different messages out there. So, we have quite a few of them here. But what we want to do is give you kind of a start to say, like, how do I get started? And so, Melissa, this is for you, but what do I need to do to get started with texting? Like, where do I start? We want to warm up our audience. We don't just want to go straight for the throat and start texting people. We want to make sure that we're keeping them engaged. Let me just get up here to one of my slides. We want to look for very creative ways to warm up the list to what we're doing and invite them to participate. So one of the ways that we can do that is we can actually email and announce that we now have this new mobile communications tool that allows us to keep you updated in real time. So we have a goal we're trying to reach. We've of course been telling you about that goal. And if you want to be real-time alerts around that goal, we're going to be doing that. You might be running a bid or an auction. People might want to make sure that they're going to get a text message right before the bid gets closed so they can bid again. That's a real-time notice. It's like, hey, I really want this thing. Text me and let me know. We might be having a golf event and we want to share resources about, where to park or what to do. So again, there's any number of reasons why we want people to text. And I think what I look for with a new customer, it's like, what's the upcoming event? What are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? Here's 40, 50 things that I've seen organizations do on their phone. And some different natural ways to kind of warm up the list to participate, to really meet them where they are, if that makes sense. Okay. So I think those are very important pieces. But when you start texting a list, and this comes up from time to time, and that is like, what about compliance? Can I just text everybody? And the answer is okay. Let me disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, so you're gonna have to consult an attorney. But I'll tell you what I have found, and I've looked at this through what the opt out rates are, and complaints and what have you that we receive on texting. I would not hit a list that's 2 years old and just spam them with a solicitation. That's a no no. Like I wouldn't want that as a donor. So I always go above the letter of the law. I always look at, okay, here's what the rules are, but I want to go above that because I'm that kind of organization, I'm that kind of brand, I'm that kind of person. I don't want to just like, okay, well, technically I can text you, so I did. No, like what's the value that I'm creating, and can I go above that and text you in such a way that actually creates value and makes your day better. So I wouldn't necessarily text people that are aged out of my list. There would definitely be a starting point. But if someone showed up at an event last year and I'm emailing them, I can invite them to opt into text messaging for alerts around that event. I can email them a QR code or something or a link that they can click on that can fire off a text that triggers something to happen, like get the maps to your phone, get the playlist, get that kind of thing. So there's different creative ways I can move people from one list to another. I've also seen organizations quite successfully just text their donors from the previous, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, the last year, and say, "Hey, we now offering mobile communications. Here's how you opt out, or would you like to opt in?" So you can go affirmative or you can go negative. Here's how you get out. Here's how you stay in. And I'm telling you, from my experience, we've used very little opt out rates. If you word the message personalized and conversational, and then there's a human on the other end, that's one of the reasons why Rally gives you 300 characters for a text message, not just 160. Most texting tools give you like half the messages room that we do because obviously we don't want you to be too verbose, but we want you to be able to write a message that looks like more of a human sent it than a robot trying to send a very short message. Okay. So I would send a message and say, "Hi, Jane. This is James from Acme. Wanted to let you know we just rolled out a new tool to communicate with you. We are so grateful for your participation in the last year, and we look forward to the 20 for the year to come. Check your inbox for an email from the founder, whatever." Right now, I could have very easily said that in a video, and I could get a lot more words in, right? And so I could record a quick little video, and you can go to rally.so and check this out, and you can actually get a video for yourself, and it's free. But just get a video, and on that video we can put a button. So it could be, "Hi James," or "Hi Jan, this is James. Here's a little story, a little 1 minute video. If you're interested in learning more, click the button here." It doesn't have to be a donate button, and and draw them in that way. Okay, so the compliance question always comes up. I always have to stipulate, like, look, don't spam people, don't buy lists, don't send solicitation text messages all the time. The TCPA is what it's called. If you want to Google it, the Telecommunications Protection Act is specifically dealing with marketing and solicitation over all forms of communications through telecommunications, be it fax machines, text messages. There's can spam and different regulations that do the same thing around email and even websites. Like you can't blog an offer that's not clearly defined who's behind the offer and there's, if you ever if you want to look into it, there's a lot of regulations around communications and rightfully so. I always remind people that at the end of the day, the letter of the law might be the letter of the law might be this, but the spirit of the law is this. We want to go a level beyond that, and we're looking for warming up lists. That's why it's and I want to be positive here, and it's just a little bit of soapbox for me. Peeve of mine when someone calls me and says, "Hey, we got an event next month. We want to look at text messaging." I'm like, "Great, we can hit all of your people and tell them about the event, and you're going to get some to show." But if you want to be successful with text messaging, you got to warm people up, and it's got to be a process. It takes about 90 days to really be effective rolling these things out. So, like I have paid for the first month for customers just to start early because I know they're only going to be successful if we can warm them up and build it out and get it done the right way. Okay, so I'm really hoping that we're talking that way. Now, if your event's tomorrow and you need texting today, we can get you set up. We can help you get it done. There's done, but a lot more successful if you can have a long view of texting and see it as a way to warm people up. And I always remember, will do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't get too nutty with firing off a bunch of text messages to people. That's solicitation all the time. That's not really what I want either. And it's not what you want. Okay. So check out the video tool there. I'm going to look just real quick. Bear with me on this as I bring up email. I just want to make sure that there is nothing. I'll put over here real quick. Whoop. So I've got a couple of, just make sure there's not an email pending out here. Okay, so I think we are good on the conversations. There's one. My email is always a mess, everybody. You guys ever had that experience? You're like dread bringing up emails. Like, oh, here we go. Nope, I don't see anything. So I think we're good. I think I answered everybody's questions. I only had 2 or 3 coming through text message. So again, I apologize for the mess around the chat. Thanks for putting up with me. For those of you who stayed, you are my favorite people for the day for sure. Okay, so thank you. If you have any questions, James at 24365. Text, you'll get my V card. You'll have my personal cell phone, James at rallycorp.com. If you want to stop by the website, if you are a current customer, use the little chat widget inside of the app itself. When you log into the Rally platform, you'll see a little question mark down in the corner. When you click on that question mark, a little tool will pop up, allows you to email or chat. Email might be better, but just email us, let us know. We'll get the answer back to you. The team will tag me in a ticket if it's something I can jump in and help you with. If you're not a customer yet, and it looks like there's one name on here I don't recognize, if you just want to reach out, go to my website, rallycorp.com. There's a scheduling tool. You can actually book a little 10, 15-minute call with me. I'm happy to spend some time. I'll take more time if you need it, but happy to answer some questions and get you some resources. Everybody, thank you for putting up with a little technical snafu earlier today and for sticking around. I'm James at rallycorp.com. If there's anything else I can help you with, do not hesitate to ask. We will be doing this again. In fact, we're looking at potentially doing another workshop. Usually we do them once a month, but I always create space for twice a month because sometimes people have a lot of questions. But we're actually talking with a partner of ours that's going to come in and actually teach people how to do a video. So we're still working out the title, but it'll be something like how to create a compelling video in 25 minutes or less. And he's going to give you a script. He's a story guide, so he can help you create a story and a very simple little framework and script that you can use to get in front of your camera and just record the video. Okay, so that's very likely in two Wednesdays from now. So not this Wednesday coming up next week, but the week after that. And it'll be in our blog and in our newsletter. So if you're on that, you'll be notified about it. Okay, so that may be coming up a little bit sooner because I didn't want to wait a whole month to get to that piece. But we'll do a full blown webinar and bake that out a little bit more. Okay. All right, everybody. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming and have a very wonderful day. You guys are great. Appreciate it.